Isn't he supposed to be like the nicest guy in comics or something though?
I thought that was me. I guess not.
No, it's not you.
Yeah, I was asking. I wanted to ask you a question if like you were able to finish reading books or comics right now, or if your concentration gets a little messy because of what's going on in the world.
I feel like my concentration is better.
Really? Wow.
You know what?
Reading comics or not?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going through a lot of the same stuff as everybody, where I'll often sit down and try and read a good comic. You know what I mean? I'm like, fuck it, I can't. Or watch a good movie. Like, I got the Criterion channel.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to watch a good movie, and I'm like, I just want garbage, or not garbage, but like we were talking about, I've gone back and I've been reading Wash Tubbs and Captain Easy, and it's just like perfect for right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny, I got that Bud Sawyer book, the first volume, because last time I was in Minnesota, I was at your house and you had a copy of it on your coffee table. Really? I remember flipping through it. Yeah. And then I was like sitting around my house, like for some reason it was still in my head, like, oh man, I really should read those strips. They look really good. So I bought that first volume and I just burned through all the volumes. I like finished them all. I could get the next one, burn through that one, and I just read them all, and they were so great. Wash Tubbs is fun, is really good too, but I really think Buzz Sawyer is better.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I keep on starting on Buzz Sawyer, and I'm kind of like, it's not as much fun to me as the Wash Tubbs and Captain Easy stuff, but actually, I mean, the art is a completely different animal, but
yeah. Well, from what I understand, he was drawing Wash Tubbs himself, right? And then when he got Buzz Sawyer, he had a crew of people helping him, or he had some assistants.
I think he had some assistants on both, but yeah, I think way more so with Wash Tubbs and Captain Easy.
Well, he had more assistants on Wash Tubbs?
No, he had more assistants on Buzz Sawyer.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I think he had like when he went with Hearst, his assistant on Wash Tubbs. And actually, it's pretty great because he was this guy, like the guy who helped him on Wash Tubbs was a guy that he he hopped trains with, like a boyhood friend from Texas.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they hopped trains together and they were like childhood friends and everything. And this guy ended up being his assistant on Wash Tubbs. And then when he took, when he went with Hearst and started Buzz Sawyer, that childhood friend kept going with Wash Tubbs, and that created a little rift. He didn't want it to keep. Yeah. So, but
I've seen those Wash Tubbs that weren't drawn by him.
I haven't either.
Oh, I'd love to see.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. There's I don't know about you, but when I was younger, a lot of the time when I was drawing comics, I would it wasn't a good or healthy thing to do, but I would end up doing like starting at 8 and working until or being up from like 8 until 5 or 6 in the morning, and then sleeping until whenever, and then just because those hours at night when the whole world is quiet,
yeah,
are still kind of, and also back then I was usually drunk, but like the way that feeling of the whole world being quiet and nothing's going on is pretty amazing. And this past month has kind of felt like that all the time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I used to do that when I lived alone. I would just stay up all night drawing, like really late. And then I'd wake up in the morning and I'd just start drawing again.
Yeah.
But it's like at this point, I try to keep like Amy's hours when she goes to work, which is like 9 to 5, and I'll just try and get as much work as I can get done between those hours, and I want to be off and free to do stuff after that, So it's actually better. It's a healthier way to live, honestly. I mean, just eating shit food and sitting there drawing, and that was my life. Like I actually was telling Amy that, if I was still single in that apartment in Columbus, Ohio, during this pandemic, I probably wouldn't even know much about the pandemic. Like the whole world outside of my apartment didn't even really matter to me. So I probably would have been like, oh yeah, I think there's some kind of sickness outside, and I would have just been still sitting inside my apartment, going outside just to take the trash out, but then otherwise just like watching movies and drawing all day, because that's all I did.
Yeah.
And I probably would have been the last man alive. Everybody would be gone, and then I would come out of my apartment like, what's going on? Where is it?
You're like, hey everybody, I made all these comics. Where are you?
I just finished the next Fonte Bukowski. Where's everybody? That episode of Twilight Zone. Where is everyone?
Yeah.
I've been watching that.
You've been watching Twilight Zone?
Yeah, old episodes. I just watched this one yesterday called Walking Distance. Did you ever see that?
I'm not sure. I tried to start watching that with the kids a month or two ago, and they were kind of, Isaac was into it, and Flossie was a little bit like, this is creepy, but.
Oh, yeah. Well, Walking Distance is about a guy who's 36 years old. He's like a high-powered, he works a high-powered guy like in an ad agency. And his life is just shit. And he just goes for a drive one day. And he winds up driving to the little town that he grew up in. And his car breaks down. So he has to get it fixed. And while it's getting fixed, he walks into the old town that he grew up in. And he walks back in time.
I think I have, yeah. And
it's so great. He sees himself as a boy. He talks to his dad, and like his dad, he finally convinces his dad that who he is. It's like, I'm your son or whatever. And his dad just like, you can't be here. Like, you already had this summer, you already lived this summer. And now it's like, my boy's chance. And like, you have to go back and live your own summer,
Is there a gazebo in it?
Yeah.
That one. I told you about this, how like when I first started teaching, so that was fucking 12 years ago. But Sandman was such like a touch point for so many of like that generation that I was like, oh, I got to read this. I have to read the whole thing just so I know what they're talking about. I didn't get it.
Yeah, I've heard that you have to get through, like, the first volume is really hard to read, and then it starts to get good around the second volume. But it's not for me. It doesn't appeal to me.
No. I mean, it wasn't bad, but I certainly didn't get to the end of it, and I couldn't see what. I got to the end of it, and I couldn't see what the giant deal is or was with it.
What are your favorite mainstream comics?
What do you mean, like now?
No. Like old comic books.
I kind of feel like the only superhero worth reading might be Metamorpho.
Metamorpho. Who's that?
Have you not read that?
No, I don't. What is it?
Oh no. He was a guy like, I can't remember the name of the writer now, but Metamorpho, he had like his body was split into like 4 or 6 different parts. Like this part was like concrete, and this part was kind of scaly, fishy, and he was blonde, and like they're just these, and it's all written in this like weirdo late 60s, early 70s, or like post-beat hipster. It's fucking great.
Is that DC?
Yeah, DC, but kind of like the same as the Metal Men.
Yeah.
Those, I think it was the same writer, where it's just like totally fucking ridiculous, and oh man, they're the best. Yeah, Metal Men and Metamorpho are like, and I don't even read that shit that much, but when I do, it's kind of a blast. I don't know what a
lot of stuff, like even Stan Lee's writing is hard to read because it's too much. It's too much shit. Oh, yeah. It's like he has a caption, and then below the caption is word balloons that explain what he just explained up top. You're like, what is this?
Yeah, reading those old comics are kind of like one page of Kirby and Lee. It seems like it takes as long to read that as it does to read like one of our lame alien.
So, I heard this thing about Kurt Cobain that like when he had the big mansion, was it in Seattle, or I can't remember, Tacoma maybe, or something, Seattle, and like he just like basically moved all his stuff into one room in that mansion, and then he just like lived in that little space, and then the rest of the mansion was just like, the hanger-oners and all the junkies and stuff like that. But he, like, do you relate to that in a way? Like, if you had like a big space, would you just be like?
This is a picture of the little crawl space that Zach used to live in.
What brings that question to mind is that, like, in like a dog, it's like you were existing in just that little tiny space above a garage.
At the back of a garage.
In the back of a garage.
Yeah.
Was it so cars would pull up like right outside the wall there, or was it upstairs?
No, it was just like if you got a garage, if you can imagine a car pulling at that, pulling into the garage, and they just sectioned off 10 feet at the end of the garage and turned that into like a,
oh, really?
Not even 10 feet, 8 feet.
Jeez.
Whatever. But, no, I mean, I think about that a lot. That was definitely it was really great to have that little stuff in your world. When you got the house now, it's sort of like when you have a house and you can put shit in it, it just fills up with stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something to be said too for like keeping your work separate from, like, I love having the studio. It's recently, I don't know if I can, been tough to figure out if I can still afford it.
Yeah.
But,
that's impressive, man. It's below a coffee shop, isn't it?
yeah. And yeah, this building is huge. But like Mano has always sort of been, Mano exists to sort of pay for my studio space. It doesn't make any money, and it certainly doesn't like pay for the studio space, but it's sort of like, it makes it doable for me. But I don't know. There's a question of whether or not I can keep. Right now, I'm really, really happy I have this space because, again, unlike a lot of people, like, I can go someplace that isn't my house and do shit. But felt like I'm gonna do these. So I'm gonna finish out Sammy the Mouse as the shittiest comic books I can make.
You're printing them yourself?
No, see, that's what I don't know. Maybe. I mean, nobody wants to do a comic book right now. I got some friends who might.
Yeah.
But if they don't, I'm probably gonna figure out a way to do it myself.
Well, that's cool. I mean, yeah, I want to do that too with like Blammo. I want to put another issue out, but I want to actually learn how to be more self-sufficient. So I'll probably try and self-publish it this time.
Yeah.
Like I used to, and then just set up a website or something where people can order it, or maybe like sell some to Spit in Half, something like that. Because what's gives us an advantage as like cartoonists is that most cartoonists have to like cut their teeth by self-publishing. It's like you enter this as like a self-publisher and you learn all these skills, and then eventually you get a publisher and you just stop self-publishing. But then if you ever have to go back out on your own again, you already know how to do all this stuff because that's how you started.
The amount of administration stuff you would have to do that wasn't like drawing. I think every once in a while I'd be like, fuck, I'm just self-publishing more than I'm drawing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be a giant pain in the ass, but
you're familiar with all that stuff, though. I mean, that you do a lot of administrative work as well as, I mean, running your own small press and then trying to be a cartoonist at the same time and then teaching cartoonists. That's a lot of stuff to take on,
Well, I used to do that with Mano, but now I don't know. Lamano's a terrible publisher. I mean, Mano's a terrible publisher who still from time to time puts out amazing shit by people, and I'm, what I was saying about the studio too, I think that's pretty, if I can just keep doing it and not take a loss and keep putting out cool stuff when and if cool stuff crosses my path, I'm totally happy with that. I guess my point is I'm a terrible, terrible businessman. And the years where I was trying to be a real publisher, it was just, I'm not very good at it. And I'm good at making shit. I'm not good at selling stuff.
Yeah, that's the hard part, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm really not. not good at it.
So how many pages is the new Sammy the Mouse going to be as a pamphlet?
So I think it's going to be 5 more issues. This one I was hoping to get it completely drawn by the end of this month, but that's getting pretty tight. So this one's 48, and I think it's like 5 more issues that'll be 32 to 48.
Wow.
Yeah.
In 2 color, or is it just in black and white? Wow.
Yep. Yeah.
Same color scheme?
Same color scheme.
Book? And then you're going to publish a giant book of all the material?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's really exciting.
So,
wow.
Yeah, I kind of had a meltdown when I was in France a little bit.
Yeah, I was so jealous that you got to go. Oh, God, I like the time of my life doing that. And I was hoping so badly that they would invite me back. Like, it was really inspiring, you know?
Yeah.
So what was it like for you going there?
I mean, it was awesome because June is it was some returning people that I love, and June is one of my favorite people in the world. But I kind of freaked out a little bit.
So just if we're talking about the rock, paper, scissors residency, and where was it this time?
Same place as you were, Dignac.
Dignac.
Yeah.
So it's basically like I don't know if it's the same place, but it's like a little village, and there's like little cabins set up. Each person gets their own little cabin, and it's just like a bed and a shelf.
Yeah, I think it was the same place. Did your place, did it have the little like 60s like little trailers?
Yes, yeah. Behind some of the so some of the cartoonists got the 60s trailers, and some of them got the cabins. That's what you got?
Yeah.
I got a little wooden cabin, and it had a little heater in there. I loved it. I could hear the mice playing underneath the bed at night.
Yeah.
And I would play some Mark Maron What the Fuck podcasts on my phone, and I could hear them run away. Like they just get freaked out by his voice. So, okay, tell me, why'd you have a freak out in France?
I don't know. I mean, I was so stoked to go, and then I just realized that I mean, I kind of knew it, but it sort of drove home that I had not drawn a comic book in a long time. Like, I had been sort of working on that Philip K. Dick thing. That thing could not have shit the bed in a more distressing way, you know? Like, I was doing that shit the bed. My marriage shit the bed. And then I finished up Full Wrath, which was all prose, but it just, I kind of went and sat down with all these cartoonists, and I was like, I haven't fucking drawn a comic. I've drawn, but I haven't drawn a comic in like a year and a half, and 2, and I just kind of melted down. I mean, I didn't melt down badly, but it was, under normal circumstances, it's like, oh my God, I'm sitting around with all these like insanely talented people. And that's a little weird, but doing that and then just sitting down and being like, I don't even remember how, like, did I ever do this? Like,
yeah.
I'm a cartoonist, but I haven't done this in a long time. And
so how long did that last while you were there?
I mean, it would kind of come and go, but
it sounds like imposter syndrome, right? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was. It was, which, even when you know better, it's hard to like jack your head out of that sometimes. But it was, then I came back and I was like drawing like a fiend. But while I was there, I was just a little. It was just like a weird confluence of things that made me a little not able to like immerse as much as I wanted to at the time, But it was a great crew.
Bad because Charles Burns was there with you.
Drawing next to that motherfucker all day, I mean, everybody in the room is like, but but it was a great crew of artists. Like the people who were there were awesome, and so it was really great.
Did Charles Burns get a cabin or did he get a camper?
I can't remember.
I wonder what kind of guy. I wonder if he would have just immediately gone for the camper, or if he would have been like, I'll just take the little cabin. Don't worry, guys.
I mean, that guy, Charles is kind of game for anything. So he was, actually, the book I want to do after Sammy, because I dumpstered all this paper.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let's see if you can get this. Because I dumpstered all this paper. So my next book after this. I got all this crescent.
Oh my God.
I want to do it all this big.
What the fuck?
I keep starting it.
That's gonna take another 30 years.
No, it's not.
What are you drawing with?
What? Like a giant brush. Yeah. Like that's the page size.
Oh my God.
It's my Frankenstein book, man.
Are you gonna do a Frankenstein book?
Yeah. All right. So let's get into it. Because, I mean, it definitely got to that point with me with the Philip K. Dick book where it was so much, there was so much, it just got to feel like I was at the point where I was like, this is never going to get done. And then things happened and I was like, oh no, this is actually never going to get done. I mean, how are you?
I can actually show you what I have left.
All right.
I have this page and then this little bit. So all this is just like a timeline, like events that happened in his life.
Right.
I went and wrote down okay, let's see, from 1834 until the 1840s or whatever, 1844. So I have 10 years left to write.
Okay.
But that could be another 100 pages, maybe, depending on how I'm trying to figure out a clever way of structuring it so that I can fit it all in. Because the book was only supposed to be 250 pages.
What are you at?
I'm in the 250s now, but I'm only in the part where he just started cheating on his wife. He started having an affair. His first affair. So that stuff is gonna start blowing up in the next scenes, next chapters. But I bought all these books when I first started working on this, which is just these volumes called the Illustrated Stories of the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
And they're all these paintings that are just really.
Wow.
And they're all.
They've been one of the weirdest paintings I've ever seen in my life. Let me see that again.
Yeah, it's there's the golden plates. These guys.
It looks like the golden file cabinet.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. I'll show you another funny one. This is one I got this was published by the Mormon Church. And it's just called.
Oh, wow.
It's a great cover design.
That is nice.
But, you can tell it's from the 70s because it's it's supposed to be the 1800s, but everybody's dressed like the 70s.
Yeah.
Look at this. Is young Joseph. Look, he's got bell bottoms and stuff. It's just such a. Yeah. You can't get toilet paper anymore. Who would have foreseen that?
That whole thing, man. I remember the kids got back and they were like, what are we going to do about toilet paper? I'm like, that's the last thing I'm worried about. I don't.
What happened to all the? Oh, this is not a good segue, by the way. But what happened to the Philip K. Dick book that you're working on?
That's a perfect segue.
Where is that? Where's all the pages to that? You just abandoned it completely?
Until I don't know. I mean, I'm not putting it out of my head of coming back to it someday. I mean, it's over in the other room, but I mean, there's a stack of stuff that big,
Wow. How much more would you have had to have done to get it done, to finish the story? How many more pages do you think?
Well, that was one of the weird things about it is, and I think we might have talked about this a little bit, but with the nonfiction thing, I felt like I needed to have the text. I wanted the text typeset.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted the text editable up until the very end of it, so I could sort of keep manipulating and everything. So what I was doing was I was doing a bunch of it in Clip Studio. So I was like laying out the pages in Clip Studio, and then I was doing like individual drawings and dropping them into the frames in Clip Studio.
Oh,
So
okay.
like I didn't have like this many pages done.
Yeah.
I had like it was I kind of started off on this weird process that I don't know if in the end it certainly wasn't as, I know why I adopted it, but it wasn't there was a bunch of it done, but it wasn't like I had a stack of pages that was like, this is done. You know what I mean? I had a bunch of material that.
So you were doing like each panel was on its own page or what?
Yeah, it was on its own. And it was also going back to that French stuff that you were talking about, was I really wanted to adopt a style that wasn't so like tight, where I could, on a piece of paper, just fucking scratch something out. And if I liked the quality of it, I could keep it. If I didn't, I could do another one. It wasn't like I was ruining my whole page. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for a while that was really freeing, but yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe I mean, to the end of my days, I don't know. It's kind of funny to me right now, where it's kind of like, I'm totally comfortable with my stuff not being like mainstream or saleable or whatever. But the one thing I did have that I was actually interested in that was saleable, and the one thing that's sort of selling right now is like biographies, comic book biographies, people like that. And man, I couldn't sell this thing for, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't know why nobody would bite on it. So,
all right, man, let's end this because my allergies are really killing me.
All right. It's great seeing you and talking to you, man. I look forward to being in the same room with you again at some point.
Yeah, whenever this is all over.
You made it through another one of these.